I'm Emily Kane, and this is Maritime Inc. I'm Emily Kane. I'm the owner and operator of Folklore Tattoo. I'm an environmental advocate and illustrator and an artist. One of the main focuses of my art is to blend environmental education with any of the artwork that I do, whether that's with at-risk youth, in illustration, or in tattooing. It's a topic that's very important to me. Hi, welcome. I'm so glad you could come today. Nice to see you. One of the drawbacks to drawing is that often it's on paper and it's closed into books, so we don't get to see it. And so one of the things that I've always been drawn to in making my own art is accessibility. So tattooing is an obvious one for that, but I also am very drawn to public art. I have a lot of mural work in my background and interactive public art. So places where the community can come interact with that art rather than in a gallery or in a book has been a focus of my art making.
I think that might be a bit bigger than I want.
Well, it would come onto your calf muscle. I became interested in tattooing when I was pretty young, maybe younger than I should have, but I've always been a drawer. And so once I started becoming introduced to tattooing, I thought, hey, I can draw way better than you. I basically learned how to tattoo by getting tattoos because the gatekeepers wouldn't teach you, right? And so a lot of my learning was from actually receiving tattoos and watching and asking questions rather than a traditional apprenticeship. And I joke about being able to draw better than other people, but it's something that I felt really strongly about. I started designing my own tattoos for myself and bringing them to people. And as I watched the mechanics of tattooing and how, at least where I was, a lot of people weren't really blending that with artistic discipline, I thought that it would be a really good medium for myself. So my family and I moved to Antigonish about 5 years ago, and we bought a piece of property and we built a little house. And so rural living is very new to me, let's say. I kind of like tattooing in a small town because so much of tattooing is word of mouth and physically showing someone, hey, look at this amazing piece. Whereas I find in an urban setting, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle. And so the word of mouth mechanism in a smaller community is almost more powerful to me. Blackwork uses a lot of high contrast imagery to show the dynamic flow of the body. Often it can highlight the body rather than the content. And so you see a lot of adornment, sort of ornamental types of tattooing that really work with the body rather than against it. I found with blackwork tattooing, at least for myself, that there was so many forward thinkers that I was meeting that were doing the same thing, that it really got away from replicating things that I'd done before. You see a lot of contemporary tattooing done in the blackwork style. And for me, on myself at least, I really liked the boldness. I liked the contour. And I find that it translates well to any skin tone. Body ownership is really a powerful part of tattooing. And body expression through your own skin is extremely powerful. The other sort of facet to that is that for me, I see a lot of beauty in the body. And so when it came to looking at how other people were presenting tattoos or doing layout for tattooing, I wasn't seeing everything that I wanted or liked for myself. So the way I begin is we don't just jump on the tattoo highway. I'll start with a short, small line, and then I'll stop to let you readjust or to get used to the feeling. After that, once you give me consent to get going, then we'll just go at your leisure. The other part is about seeing how tattooing can complement the body rather than a lot of this sort of, let's say, more historical American style where it's a lot of sort of sticker images put onto the person without sort of noticing the flow of the body. When I started becoming interested in tattooing, I was exploring a lot of different cultural practices. One of the things I find fascinating about tattooing is that no matter where you are in the world, no matter what period of history, it seems to be there. And a lot of the places that it surfaces is through nature-based imagery. And a lot of the content is very nature-based. And so that fascinated me as a young person. And so when I started researching and involving myself in sort of this different areas of tattooing or different places in the globe, I was noticing that, hey, this doesn't look like American traditional. This is noticing lines of the body. This is taking into consideration lineage or history or family heritage. And it wasn't just a sort of the typical roots of American tattooing with, military and outlaw culture. At least in my studio, people get tattooed for body reclamation. They get tattooed for celebration, for memorial. So it's a very personal thing. I think that tattooing as an industry has definitely become safer and more accessible. And so that allows people the sort of comfort level to ask questions and to be curious. And social media has played a role in that for sure, because of the sharing of images on its base level. Okay, so we want light shading up through the veins in the centers of all of the larger leaves.
Yeah.
And then we're going to take a gray through the stem work.
Okay.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, that is what I want.
Just like this?
Yeah. Is the gray going to be a gray ink, or is it just different technique with the needle? I'm just asking because I'm curious, not because I...
Technique.
Okay, cool. Is all of your ink black always? Is all of your ink black?
Yes. One of the things that I've been trying to do with folklore tattoo is minimize the amount of plastic waste for each client. And recently, through updated products and procedures, I've been able to reduce my plastic waste approximately by weight about 40%. And that's something that I'm very proud of and I hope to build on. Because it is a medical procedure at the end of the day, there is plastic created. And so for me, it's kind of a mental balance of facilitating a spiritual practice for people and also the waste created doing that practice.
When I was 17, I got my ears pierced twice. And I came home and my mom said, no, you will never get a job with your ears pierced twice. You will never find, good employment. You're ruined. You have to let your ears grow over. She said, I'd rather you get a tattoo. And I said, really, like a tattoo? So it took me a long time to find a tattoo that I was happy with. And so at the age of 30, so I had, gone through my years of finding myself, and at age 30, I decided to get my first tattoo. So my first tattoo is a frog, and it's a frog because my dad called me Toad my entire life as a child. And let's face it, a frog is much better than a toad on your body for the rest of your life. So I have a frog as my first tattoo. I have 5 tattoos, and most of the times I have them in places that you can't see. I work in an office, or I have for a while, so trying to not have them showing is my goal right now when I'm getting tattoos. When my mom turned 65, she wanted to get a tattoo. So I went online and I found what I thought was mother and daughter in Chinese letters, and we got that tattoo together. So there's a little story behind that one that I will share with you. So when I got my frog tattoo, I went with a friend and we went to Kara's out on the Coal Harbor Road, I think. Okay. And that was my I'd never had one. It was my tattoo artist. So he moved by the time I went to get this one. And it's here with my mom and with mother and daughter. And so I followed him where he went. So mom and I got in the car and we started driving, and I just told her, we're going to get our tattoos. But I didn't tell her where we were going to get our tattoos. So we drive and we went over to Main Street in Dartmouth, And we pull up in front of this building, and there's boards on the window, and there's words on the boards. And all of a sudden, my mom kind of clues in of where we are. And she goes, "Where the hell have you brought me?" And I said, "Mom." And we were at Naughty by Nature in Dartmouth. So this is my 65-year-old mother. She's from the South Shore, not exposed to a lot of things. And I'm pulling up in front of Naughty by Nature in Dartmouth. So I said to Mom, we're just going to go in. We're going to go straight to the back to where my tattoo artist is. We're not looking at anything. Wouldn't you know, we walk in the door, my tattoo artist isn't ready. So the lady says, "Please have a seat right here on this bench." We have a seat right here on this bench. And there are things in front of us that my mother has never seen. And she said it was like a car accident. She didn't want to look, but she couldn't help herself. So here's my mom. We're sitting in this sex shop getting our tattoos. And when we go back to my tattoo artist, it keeps going because he doesn't shut the door. So it continues. I'm on the bed getting my tattoo, and my mom's sitting in the chair looking out the door at all of the articles they have for sale, including blow-up dolls and everything like that right outside the door. And so it was an interesting drive home from getting that tattoo. So that was my second tattoo. My third tattoo, a friend of mine was going to get a tattoo, and she wanted company. And she's run marathons, so she was getting a 26.2 tattoo. And she said, "Why don't you get one for running as well?" So I said, okay. So we went to Utility Tattoo on Quimple, and I got my runner girl tattoo. And you don't know how many times I look at this runner girl when I'm running on the trails or anything like that to remind myself that I can do it. So she's got me through tons and tons of miles, so I'm really glad. Then we were at the Epic Try-a-Try weekend, and we were doing a try-a-try in Lake Banook for the Epic weekend. And I had been searching for a triathlon tattoo because I had done a sprint triathlon, the Navy one that is usually held in June. And I'd done a couple diabetes triathlons, try-a-tries at the Canada Game Center, and then the Epic one. And I really wanted to, a try-a-try is a mixture of a lot of 3 different sports, and I wanted to pay homage to that and getting through that because there's training that was involved. But I could not find the right tattoo. And then Tim Chestnut, in the Epic Try-a-Try race kit, had the Nova Scotia Triathlon logo as one of the fake tattoos that you could put on your body. And I fell in love with it. And so months after that, I went and got my Try-a-Try tattoo, or my triathlon tattoo, on my foot. And then my final tattoo is, unfortunately, before I got my current dog, Watson, my other dog, Indy, passed away. And Indy was with me for 12 years. And Indy got me through a divorce. He got me through moves. He got me through relationships. And so I paid homage to Indy. And he is now, his name and some hearts and paws are inked on my body to pay homage to Indy. When I look at my tattoos, I forget I have them. If I'm getting up and I get out of the shower and I turn around or something and I catch a glimpse of my frog, for instance, I'm like, oh, I totally forgot I had that there. Or if I wear sand in the wintertime, I have socks on my feet. So I totally forget that I have them on my feet. They catch you off guard. Like, I totally forget about them. But then if I'm sitting around and I'm looking and I have my leg up like this or my leg like this and I can see the one from Indy, it warms my heart. Every one of my tattoos means something to me. Some people get the tattoos when they're young, and they're 16 and they're 17, and you outgrow what those tattoos probably mean to you, which is why I think I waited so long to get a tattoo. So they make me smile because there's always something that they mean to me.
Do tattoos hurt? The big question, right, on everybody's mind. Where hurts less? Where hurts more? The simple answer is yes, they do hurt. But not in the way that you think of a traditional needle or a needle injection. The way I describe it is it's a very topical pain. And so you can take that how you will. When did I get my first tattoo? My goodness gracious. That's the big secret in my household because I have a young lady daughter. So she's not allowed to know. But I will tell you, I was 14 and I was in a dirty kitchen in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And I got 2 tattoos because I was so badass that I didn't want to have 1 tattoo. I thought, I'm pretty tough, so I should probably do 2. What did my parents say? They weren't really part of the decision at that point. So yeah. My first experiences with tattooing were not a safe environment. They were not somewhere that I should have been, let's say. And so that has really driven me to provide, especially my younger clients, with an environment that is body positive, that is safe, that is not preying upon the vulnerabilities of the actual situation. And so for all of the tattooing situations that I was in as a young person, part of my job now is to make it safer and better for other people to get tattooed. And that doesn't matter what age you are. My own personal tattoos are a connection between my history and where I'm going. I am very drawn to nature-based imagery, to ornamental tattooing as a way of celebrating my body and my time here with this earth and what I can do to make things better.
I got my first tattoo actually when I was 16 years old, which would be the one here on my wrist. I hid it from my parents for a long time. They honestly thought it was something that I drew on with pen. They didn't find out for about 2 years. And then after the fact, they basically said, I hope you don't have any more. They're very meaningful to me. So I have my amethyst crystal, which is my birthstone. My teacup represents Cape Breton. We're a big tea drinking family there. So that's just kind of my family and represents that. My bundle here represents more of my work that I do with massage. I do a lot of aromatherapy, so I have my favorite essential oils in my bundle. The one here on my back of my arm is the Om symbol for yoga as well, which just means unity and connectivity. And I have my stars and moon on my collection on my wrist, just my connection with horoscopes. I love anything with the universe. I do have a blue jay on my ribs, which is for my grandmother. When she passed away, I was 8 years old. So my mother had told me about reincarnation, and there was always blue jays around our place. So that was my message from my grandmother, was whenever I saw a blue jay. So that represents her. I have a feather on my side, which represents, again, some spiritual messages. So whenever you see a feather on the side of the road, it's a message from your loved ones. So, and then with that, I have little birds that come off the side. And each bird is colored for my family's birthstones. So I have these tattoos on my ankles as well. One represents my horoscope as an Aquarius. I have the 2 waves. And then on the bottom part here, I have just an anchor, a small anchor, which is my connection with Jimmy. We both have anchors on our feet. As a collection, I mean, they're very spiritual to me. So each tattoo has a meaning. They're all steps and processes in my life when I felt like I was going through something. I feel like tattoos are a great kind of memory to hold on to, and lets me know, this is where I started and this is where I'm at now. I see a very strong woman, very powerful. I love the coloring of it, so I think it just gives me a bright pop of color, and it just reminds me where I started.
People often ask, what's a funny situation you found yourself in as a tattooist? And probably my most memorable was heading down to New York and getting to the land border, telling the Border Patrol my name and occupation. And in -18 weather, Officer Fitzpatrick decides that it's a good idea to strip down to his pants and show me all of his tattoos. So here I am with my mittens and peeking out of my car, passing my passport, and Fitzpatrick is rolling up and unbuttoning, and I was uncomfortable with this situation, but at the same time, you basically just want to get out of there. So I told him he had great tattoos, and I was on my way. One of the changes that I've seen in the 12 years that I've been tattooing is really structured around women and queer folks taking the forefront. In my learning how to tattoo, there was a lot of gatekeepers. I didn't have anybody really teaching me. I'm self-taught. And so I didn't get a lot of favors from a lot of the boys, let's just say. Women and queer folks are changing the industry in that we're able to provide a different environment than the traditional stereotype. And what I'm seeing, at least, is that clients are over the moon that their comfort, their voice, their bodies are being respected more and more. The more comfortable my client, the better my tattoo is going to be. So much of tattooing is about ownership of your body, but it's very odd to me how the public gaze still feels entitled to discuss and sometimes even touch or comment on your body, where most of the people with tattoos that I know see them as very personal. And so you can really run into a lot of odd behaviors in the public if people want to discuss your tattoos with you. And I think the best piece of advice I can give you if one is curious about someone's tattoos is to ask if they can talk to you about them rather than commenting or perhaps yelling out of a car or coming up and touching you, because these are things that all do happen. You, my dear, are done.
Cool.
Are you happy with that level of shadedness?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so let me wrap that up.
Cool. Emily, yeah.
The best part of this job is being able to express myself, hands down. The second best part of this job is facilitating self-expression for others. As I mentioned before, so many different reasons that people want a tattoo. An extremely rewarding part of it is, having people stake their own claim and own ownership and own self-expression over their own body. I very much see tattooing in my work as a project together with a client. Another thing that I hold very dear about tattooing is that I get to draw. End of sentence. I get to draw. And that is one of the things that brings me joy in life. On some level, for me, tattooing is a spiritual-based practice. Not always, but often. And so my hope for my art is that by blending environmental education and awareness with tattooing in the content, in how I approach it, in the waste that I create, I really hope that I can make other people care about the earth. When you reconnect people to their environment, to their regional species, their local flora and fauna, those are things that are tangible to people. And for me, people aren't going to become environmentally conscious if they don't see it, if they don't care. And if I can somehow connect environmental awareness with art and give that to people, that is a really rewarding part of my job.